let's get into the big topic of open source, something that we actually say at Red Hat.
This is so awesome.
We are an open culture that believes in
What is that process that a developer, or let's say,
as the Kubernetes ecosystem really boomed?
Hi, and welcome to another episode of In the Clouds. I am your host, Stu Miniman. We are smack dab in the middle of July. Northern Hemisphere, especially here in North America. It's been a bit of a squatcha, as we would say here in New England. But thank you so much for joining us. We've got a great episode today, as we do pretty much with every release for the last couple of years of OpenShift. We bring on one of our product managers to help us unpack some of the things that are going on with OpenShift, with all the open source projects related to it. And to help me do that today for OpenShift 4.16, happy to welcome to the program William Caban. William is a senior principal, a product manager, has been with Red Hat a little over 6 years now, coming to us down from the Maryland area, down the Atlantic coast. William, thank you for joining us. Is it hot and sticky down by you as it is up here in New England?
Oh, yes. We are breaking records definitely this year. Thank you, and thank you for having me here.
All right. Well, what if you could just give us, I said you've been at Red Hat 6 years, but tell me a little, who is William? What's your background? What brought you to Red Hat? What's your passion?
What's my background? Let's just say I have a very diverse background, from supercomputers to then very, very deep into networking with telcos, data centers, then on cloud, mostly on the OpenStack side, and eventually I move into product management after breaking enough stuff in the telco world for 5G on Kubernetes.
Awesome. Yeah, supercomputers, fascinating space, interesting stuff. It's, it's interesting in our space. We've had this resurgence of hardware where, and I mean, the supercomputer, it was always, what's the latest generation chip and how are they doing things? I come from like the networking background and used to watch like, InfiniBand and, how HPC was impacting some of those. So it was always, some of the early drivers of that technology. And even here at Red Hat, I've talked to a couple of our customers that are in that space, and it's always fascinating to hear, the Lawrence Livermore labs of the world out there, what they're doing and the like. So William, OpenShift 4.16, it's about every 4 months that we put it out, tracking the upstream Kubernetes. Gosh, yeah, I lose track. Was it 1.29 this time was what we got?
129 indeed, yes.
And I guess, start us out, OpenShift 4.16, give us, some of your high level thoughts as to, why this release is important. And we'll get into some of the features.
So let me see. A couple of things is, as of with every release, but this one particular, the scalability and more friendly to our, let's say, virtualizations workloads. So that has been a shift and something we have been working for a while, but it's something that we get closer and closer to the perfect balance between cloud native and cloud native virtualization. So that on this release is quite powerful, I would say. That and the scalability, achieving, for example, the ability to run 8,000, 10,000 pipelines on a single, even small cluster. So that which is part of what is a reflection of the requirement from our customers that are scaling all their development inside, in-house. So those are the new type of needs. So by now, Kubernetes is established as a de facto standard, but now it's that type of extreme case where, I would never expect it on a small, when I say small, it's like 12 to 24 nodes, having 8,000, 10,000 pipelines continuously running there. So that's pretty cool, having the ability now to support those type of workloads.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that, we've talked about a long time. When Kubernetes first came out, it's, how do I get scalable environments? One of the things from a Red Hat standpoint that our customers are always asking us for is, yes, we want the new, but the requests we get, especially from certain industries, are we want to be able to stay on it a little bit longer. So it's that give and take of, from a security standpoint, I want the latest patches, I want the new features, but I want to go a little bit longer. This is one of our even versions. And for the audience that doesn't know, the even versions have kind of the extended lifecycle support. And we updated that to 3 years now that you can get for the even version. Any kind of commentary on that piece?
Absolutely. So this is, as you mentioned, one of those requests is like, hey, I'm putting this into production. I want longer life cycle. And it sounds like an easy thing, but I want to put more ground around it, like really what's happening behind the scenes. So it's not only about be able to support Kubernetes and the core of Kubernetes for 3 years. I mean, you can do that. But there are things like, for example, all the libraries, all the programming languages like Golang, that now we also have to support those for 3 years, let's say, in order to be able to deliver this on an enterprise or carrier grade scale. So it's something that is not just taking something from upstream. And that is a huge investment on our side. And we're doing that, and we did it because it's the right thing for our customers. So yes, we decided to support these EUS releases for 3 years, and with everything that it includes, like everything, every single library that is there, every single programming stack, like the whole thing, end to end. And that is a unique value proposition, even when you can say, and probably find someone else claiming 3 years. Like, no, what we say 3 years is the whole thing. It's end to end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the reasons, why do customers come to Red Hat? We've got decades of experience that we've done on the Linux side, where customers can get up to 10 years of support. And with an OpenShift standpoint, one of the things I find, my team looks at is, they say, yeah, we'll give you longer support, but oh wait, we have a bug fix or some security patch. We need you to upgrade for that, as opposed to we do backport those fixes, which really make sure we understand our customers and what they're needing. We threw in the chat. The team did a 10-year discussion of scalability and what we've learned and all the customers using Kubernetes, because it's hard to believe it's been 10 years of Kubernetes that we've been talking about now. So our leader Mike Barrett's in there. It's funny, Rohan, my producer, and I actually have a cameo in there that they got us from KubeCon. So it's a fun little video if you have a couple minutes to watch that one. So William, you work on the control plane, which is something that, is just the heart of what you do from a Kubernetes standpoint and piece. I want to mention, I want you to talk about it a bit, but before you do, this show's in the cloud. So the cloud components are something we want to talk about. One of the things that's nice is we've talked on this show a few times about hosted control planes. Last year, I believe it was, I had Andy Cathro came on to talk about when we first put hosted control planes on our managed offering in AWS, which is the Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS. We now, with this release 4.16, we can also do hosted control planes on AWS for self-managed customers. So just expanding where customers can use that functionality. They can do it in bare metal. They can do it in the cloud, and a lot. There's been some exciting updates in the control plane. I know it's something near and dear to your heart. Can you give us kind of those updates and why they're important?
Yes, and the funny thing is they were triggered, many of them were triggered by precisely the need of hosted control plane, among other things, and the developer side on our customers. So a couple of things, and for example, one of the capabilities that we GA is something called the tuning parameters for the control plane, or the etcd tuning parameters. And what that means is that, so until now, for example, when you go and deploy a Kubernetes cluster, yes, we prefer that you do that on a single location. But let's say that, yeah, there are evolving needs, and sometimes you want to do that and distribute that across 2 locations, or in two areas or VPCs on a cloud provider. And up to now, there has been very restricted ways to achieve that. So one of the things that we encounter is like, hey, how we can do this not only easier for our customer, but also safer. Because it's not about just bringing a control plane in one side and the other. It's all the implications that have into, hey, how much workload is happening here, and how much I can scale that workload, how quickly I can interact and detect a failure, which is where the DR part comes in and the whole thing. So with this, what we are bringing is a safe mechanism, basically for a cluster admin to choose parameters that we know that, let's say, in worst case scenarios, up to, let's say, 1.5 second of a worst case latency. And we make sure that OpenShift remains fully operational and your workload is able to continue working. So even on those, which are extreme cases, now that enables that new type of deployment or even stretch control plane in a way that is safer, because we are testing that. We are now continually testing. It's not like, yes, you can do it, but we have never tested. It's not, now we have that. And this also comes into play when we are doing virtualization. When we are bringing now virtualization, OpenShift virtualization on top of OpenShift, and we want to span that across 2 data centers, now with this, you can make it easier for you to have this stretch control plane serving virtualization on both locations if you want to mirror more traditional virtualization stacks. So that's one of those. The other is what I was explaining. For example, when we have before this 8,000, 10,000 pipelines, or when we have this GitOps workflows, like hundreds of them on the same cluster, those create ton and thousands of resources, and that literally explode the databases of Kubernetes, the etcd database. So until now, we have been extremely safe on the safe part of it. Now, with all the work that the community has been doing, and I can say it's like the Red Hat etcd team has been contributing a lot on this space upstream. Now we can make it safer for you to even scale it larger. Okay, and that's the other part. Is tech preview. That other feature is tech preview, but it's already enabling this 10,000 pipelines on a small cluster, no problem. Or increase your virtualization stack, like more, let's say, when you create more resources, more virtual machines, that's creating and putting a lot of information on that database. Now it's enabling higher density. So simple things that have large impact on how an organization can benefit from it.
Excellent. So you touched on a little bit some of the virtualization stuff we talked about earlier. It's an important space, definitely something I'm talking to lots of customers about. What else, is in 4.16 that people have been looking for from a virtualization update?
From virtualization update, let me see. I went blank right now.
No, it's all good. Everything I believe, there's a lot that we've been doing kind of from the performability.
The hot add CPU.
Yeah.
The hot add that's a new one.
Yeah.
So basically now you can hot add CPUs, for example, on this virtualization stack on a cloud native platform. So that one is it's a very useful one, because that's something that you have on traditional virtualization, and now even on cloud native virtualization you have it. And the reason I say that cloud native virtualization is like cloud native life cycle of a pod is completely different from a virtual machine. But now having this middle ground, it's different, but we're getting those capabilities there.
Yeah, the other one I'll call out, it's not so much necessarily a feature, but we've got some really good reference architectures to help with the migration, both using the migration toolkit for virtualization as well as Ansible. So how do we help customers that want to adopt this rapidly, which has been a call that we've had quite a bit. So we've learned a lot, and in this product that we've been working on for years, but there's been a huge ramp, especially this year. We had Sachin Malik on, a couple of releases ago to talk about some of the pieces. And yeah, I'm having conversations almost every day around the virtualization piece. The other, from a security standpoint, of course, security is, always something that we are thinking about. Obviously, when you go to greater scale, there's things we have to learn about. Anything from your standpoint, from a security standpoint, that you wanted to touch on?
Let me see. On the security side, from the built-in capabilities.
Yeah.
So let me start with the built-in capabilities.
You do the built-in piece, and then I can talk about
exactly.
it. Yeah.
So from the built-in capabilities, you will see that in 4.16, it's more robust in, for example, handling denial of service attack on the API. So that's something that we did. It's there now. So, but then on the integration with the layer products like ACS, we are bringing tighter integration such that you have good defaults and profiles that can help you secure even further what OpenShift brings out of the box. So those profiles, which is awesome working with those teams, like identifying the profiles that really is what the customer needs in the way they need it, such that we can say it's safe by design. We're bringing more and more of those, and it's no different in this release. Okay. With the ACS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not an ACS expert. But
the other one, so my team's heavily involved. Our advanced cluster security offering has been, we've had it since we made the StackRox acquisition, and it's been self-managed. So we are really excited to have the general availability of the Advanced Cluster Security Cloud Service, or ACSCS, as we call it short. So, a few things on that. First of all, if I'm just using cloud services, now I have that piece and I don't have to think about managing it. And even if I have a mix of cloud or self-managed or all self-managed, I don't necessarily, as an ACS person, want to have to think about managing that environment. And a reminder, of course, not only can ACS do your security policies for OpenShift, but it also supports the XKSs. So we do have plenty of customers, especially even before it became a Red Hat product, your AKS, EKS, GKE. So super excited to see that. We have quite a few customers that have been using that under limited availability, but now that it's in full general availability, we expect quite a bit of growth of that product. All right, great. Thank you, Rohan, for putting the ACSCS stuff in the chat there. That was a real good one. So, William, no shortage of updates that we put in there. The drumbeat for our industry, of course, for the last year or so has been everything AI. And, I'm shocked that we're almost 20 minutes in and we did not say artificial intelligence or AI in any of those things. As a reminder, it's like, first, it's like, oh, come on, 4.16, it's not AI. If I don't have the scalability, if I don't have the security, if I don't have the robustness put in, things like the pipelines and GitOps that you talk about, these are all things that are really, super important enablers of AI technology. But, William, I'd love to get kind of your quick thoughts, both in, your day job working on things like the control plane, and as you look broader, how's AI fitting into your world these days?
So let's start with something that I think we are in the same positions that we were 7-8 years back with automation. And it was the question like, hey, are you planning on adopting automation? It was never, are you planning? It's when. It was not an if. It's like when. Yeah. And with AI, it's the same thing. So AI is not like, are you planning to adopt AI? It's like, when are you doing this? Because it's just like back then with automation, it brought a competitive advantage for everyone, every organization. The same thing happened with AI. And AI is not different, but it's very different at the same time. It's not different from other workloads, that it will have certain demands. And the truth is, all this scalability, like for example, I was talking about the pipelines, that just increase and triple and quadruple when we are doing AI systems. Okay, and let's just now say traditional AI versus like the Gen AI. So both are there, and Kubernetes has become for years now a very mature platform for the traditional AI, and now it is also adding what we need for Gen AI. And what this enables is now that organization is not the if they're going to do it, but when they're going to do it, they already have a good base to start from. Okay, so that's there. And just like every organization back then had to adopt an automation, every organization needs to start doing, if they have not started, something about AI. So that's what I'm seeing, not only here in Red Hat, but also when I work on different communities, or when I work as mentor on startups and things like that. That's the reality. So it's how do we make this now provide value? Because it's not the technology, it's really the business value of that. And one of the things I'm seeing there is people have not realized how easy it is and affordable it is to traditional AI to really bring that and have impact, like impact on lives. And as all this Gen AI fuzz keep pulling a little bit of that traditional AI, it's helping people realize, hey, we can AI enable more of our services and products. And that's a trend that will just continue. And on the Gen AI front, as I was mentioning to someone not too long ago, this is not like, am I doing it right or wrong? It's like everyone is early right now. So we can make mistakes. But the good thing is that it's the whole industry right now at a different speed than ever, let's just say, learning. And we are able to see value faster, which is important, because in the past, technology and delivering the value, there was a curve. That curve has flattened. Like it's not a curve anymore. It's like there's a bump, and that's it. And that is what I'm seeing right now, all across the board.
Yeah, some excellent points there. It reminds me of, it builds on, but I think is bigger than what we saw with public cloud. Because cloud it used to be like, geez, I've got this project, I'm going to need 6 months, 12 months, 18 months budget, everything else like that. And cloud was like, no, we can do it immediately. You can spin it up, you can do it. And right, AI, most of us have, an app or a tab on a phone. I can go ask some things, I can accelerate, I can improve my productivity. So we are definitely in, we've been going through a lot of the trials and experimentation, but we're already seeing some early use cases where customers are gaining productivity. I read plenty of reports and hear customers talking about, just employee productivity, shortening their life cycles, building on some of the things that we've done in DevOps in the past. All right, William, we've reached a part of the discussion where we're going to do some quick rapid fire based on some of your background and some of the things here. So, Rohan, we are ready for questions from a Red Hat. All right. So remember, William, I want to keep these answers a little bit shorter.
Okay.
I saw one of the things that you've been involved in, out there in the community is discussions of sustainability. So can you help us understand a little bit, how does sustainability fit into the whole discussion that we're having with OpenShift and its product?
So sustainability is one of those that, again, is not an if, but when. And the good thing is that we have the European Union and we have here in the US basically starting to enforce certain rules that organizations need to align by, let's say, 2026. And those is because of our explosion on everything, on AI and everything, is consuming just way too much. So it's time for us to really start thinking in the future of our future as well. And that impacts how we do development, that impact how we do operations. And that type of smarter operations on large scale or small scale is part of where all that sustainability needs to start collaborating, because it's not a one thing. It's not just on the technology side. It needs to bring from multiple industries, and I mean, it's the way we do business in the day to day, and all of that is becoming like a critical aspect right now. And I will have to say thanks to the latest regulations that have been happening in EU and the US. Yeah, it is like that. So it's helping that.
Yeah, I know discussions, we talk about, the huge models that the public cloud providers are going out there. And, it's one, there's kind of the feature functionality, but as importantly is how can I do this sustainably? Just because, the expansive growth of their data centers, the power usage is not sustainable and absolutely can be. There's a lot of potential, but if we don't do it sustainably, it can have, a real negative impact out there. So definitely an area that's fast going. All right. You mentioned you're involved in mentoring activity. So I'm curious, when you're working with your mentees out there, what are some of the skills that you recommend that people learn today? It doesn't have to be AI, but of course AI is, front and center. So, what are some of the things you're recommending to people today?
To listen. I think that's where we have been failing in general. We forgot that it's better if we listen. If we listen to the user, if we listen to the people out there, that's how we discover the largest opportunity, and how we discover and be able to introspect how we can improve on what we are delivering, what we are creating. It's what I have learned through social entrepreneurship mentoring. So basically, those are startups focused on social aspects. Okay, literally direct impact to social aspect. It's really about listening. It's not about technology. It's not about ideas. It's not about programs. It's not about funding. It's listening. Once you listen really to what people are suffering, what people are experiencing, that's when you can really go and tackle that. Without that, it's not happening. And I think our social reality has steered away from the listening, the actual listening to what people are saying, are experiencing.
Yep, we need to be able to listen, and then we need to basically internalize that and be able to act on it, not just let it go. Yeah, interesting dynamic, of course. On the one hand, there are sometimes worries that governments or large corporations are listening to things that we don't want them to, but absolutely fully agree with your comment there about listening being the skill. All right. Actually, I think our third question brings together the first two that we talked about here. So you talked about social good. When it comes to from that standpoint, what are some of the social goods that you think we can get from leveraging technology, leveraging AI? What are some of the opportunities that you see out there for having positive social impact?
I have seen two areas. One is communication, in terms of literally communicating to people, being able to improve that communication. For example, an elderly with the new generation. that communication from startups I've seen, that is really something that helps. I mean, that the modern AI and Gen AI helps reestablish that, which normally is like there are generational gaps that also cause like break in communication. So that's one. And the other one that has impacted me quite a bit is healthcare on itself. Outside, again, what the healthcare systems are doing today, really how much higher quality of the services and of the healthcare, the whole healthcare as a end-to-end experience, how much it's improved with minimum. Those two have been like very positive and impactful things that I have seen and learned from this.
Yeah, really good stuff. Reminds me, actually, at Red Hat Summit, we had a couple of our customers talking about things like just language translation and helping through some of those in Latin America and the Nordics. Really good opportunities, right, for that to be able to help out. All right, William, we are through the question from the Red Hat. Really appreciate you joining us on here, sharing what you're working on. And yes, something that, we think about, how long we've been doing Kubernetes now, 10 years. Yeah, heck, OpenShift 4 has been around for 5 years, certain things, but, scalability, performance, security, pulling in things like virtualization are things that we continue to add. So really appreciate you joining. And we will be back. More episodes, definitely. Always welcome feedback. Give us topics you want us to cover, guests who you think we should have on the program. Wishing you, everyone, hopefully a cool summer for those of us in North America. Hopefully people get to take a little bit of time to recharge and rest as that comes on. And we will be back with more episodes. And thank you, as always, for joining us on your journey in the clouds.